today? Good evening, Srikant, Amita, everyone. Good evening. I'm good, Tausif. Good, Gita. Nice. Okay, so without any further delay, let's move on. So what did we discuss in our last class? EC2 lab, is it? Okay, EC2 lab. Let's move on. Did we finish all the or till step 3? Okay. So let me share my screen. So let's move to EC2. So make sure we should be in Mumbai region. Okay, so where are you? Okay, yeah, just a second. Okay, so well, so guys, did you go through what we have discussed on till step 3? Have you gone through that a little bit? Yeah. Okay, so let's quickly jump on and then try to create an instance. Let's see. Okay, here in step 1, which one we should choose it here? Red Hat, select it. Here in this case, which one we should choose? T2 Micro. And let's talk about here. So number of instances, 1, purchasing option, yes or no? Spot instances, no. Default this and subnet, any subnet. So I'll just go with 1A. And public IP, enable or disable? Enable it. Placement group, yes or no? No. Capacity reservation, none. Domain join directory, not there. IAM role, not there. CPU not required. Shutdown behavior, stop or terminate? Stop. And then hibernate behavior, no need. Enable termination protection, I'll enable it, right? And then here also monitoring should be enabled, detailed monitoring. No. Do you see that bulguling here, right? And tenancy should be shared or dedicated? Shared. And credit specific and credit CPU credits, no, because this. I think till here we have discussed. And then let's talk about here your file system. Do you remember EFS? Do you remember EFS? Right. So can we attach this? Can we create the EFS and attach to multiple EC2 instances in different availability zones? Remember this? Yes, right. So here it is. He's asking. So here, anyways, you are creating an EC2 instance, and it is asking now at the moment, will you go ahead and create an file system, and then attach this file system, mount this file system to this EC2 instance? So this is what it is asking. But guys, did we discuss about this EFS completely? No. So let us don't create EFS. We'll have a separate session on this. We have a separate session on VPC. We have a separate session of IAM role. We have a separate session on this EFS. Got this? Because here, don't create a new file system. Just keep it empty. Okay. Now here we have enabled the public IP, right? Do you remember that whenever you launch an EC2 instance, you will have a private IP, right? You'll have a private IP. Do you see that here? NIC card. So basically network interface. What's that? Network interface. So network interface, you no need to do anything. It will auto assign the IP address. it will auto assign the private IP address here. Guys, what is this? Private IP address. So usually if you want to give private IP address static, you can give, but no one will give the static private IPs here. So it's default. Yeah, it's default. So see, if you ask me what type of IP address you will get it, we need to talk about the subnets. Here we have the subnet side. When we go to the subnet, we have, remember, we discussed about the CIDR and I given the range, VPC range, 192.168 or 172 series and all. So this default VPC already has that CIDR, already that has a network range. So out of that, automatically you will get one of the IP here assigned to this EC2 instance. So basically, you don't need to do anything here. Just leave it like that. It will auto assign. And keep this in mind. And also, it is possible to add multiple private IPs to your EC2 instance. This would be a not certification question at all, but just keep this in mind. Is it possible to add multiple IPs to a single EC2 instance? Yes, possible. So if you say requirement would be, let's say if you have two EC2 instances, right? And this guy has an IP address, this guy has an IP, and this guy also has an IP, which is called primary IP. So let's say I want to do something from here to here all the time. I want to do some synchronization. Will you use this IP? Because these IPs will be used by the customer to access your IP address. Let's say this is a database. This is a DB server and this is a DB server. DB server. All the clients will be accessing this IP address to the DB server. And if you want to synchronize to this and this, would use this IP address to synchronization? Basically, if you use this, it might be loaded. This guy is also using this IP address. These guys are also using IP address. Clients are also using the same IP address. This will get loaded. So that's the reason you can have another IP separately for the same EC2 instance, and you can use for that for different purpose. So there might be different type of requirements where you can use multiple IP address for a single EC2 instance. This is one of the example. Is that clear? So now, is it possible to add multiple private IPs to a single EC2 instance? Yeah. And you can have add device. This is ETH0, ETH1. You can have two adapters for one EC2 instance. But remember, for one adapter, it is private IPs. And another adapter, if you are using for the private IPs, you will not have any public IP anymore, because public IP will get disabled here, because you are using ETH1 also for your private IP. So ETH1 would be for your separate public IP. But you don't need to do anything. Just leave it just like that. Got this? And then you have advanced settings. Advanced settings, you can leave it just like that. But here, don't basically keep everything this default. This is related to the metadata. Remember metadata? Do you remember that URL? 169.254.169.254/latest/meta minus data, right? If you want to get the instance metadata, so you have to keep this everything default. Keep it everything default. And then user data. Remember user data, bootstrap scripting. So lately, maybe in coming days, we will use this bootstrap scripting in coming days, but not now. We are just learning how to launch an EC2 instance. So this is where you can put your scripts here. Hey, do you understand step 3 now? Are you clear about the step 3? Everyone? Super. And click on next, add storage. Do you remember what is the default volume called? What is the default volume called? Root volume. Root volumes, what is the device name for the root volume? /dev/sda1. Volumes are created from where? From the snapshots. Okay, volumes are created from snapshots only, na? And snapshots are created from volumes. Yeah. And yes, so here we have the root volume, and this is /dev/sda1, and this is creating from one of the snapshot. And what is the maximum size of your volume? 16 terabyte. But here, don't keep it like this. This is the one where you can go and how much size you want to have your C drive, basically root volume. You just put it. So as we should be inside the free tier, don't change anything. But of course, you are free to change how much ever you want. But let's keep it default. And the root volume supports, do you remember the different volume types that we have discussed? What are those? GP2, GP3, IO1, IO2, ST1, SC1 standard. Remember? Yeah. But this root volume supports what volume types? GP2, GP3, IO1, IO2, and standard. Very good. Do you see that? GP2, GP3, IO1, IO2, and standard certification question. So we have learned all these things, guys. That's why it is easy for now for us. So volume type. So which is the default volume type we use? GP2. Do you see that GP2? And GP2 has what is the ratio that you get IOPS? 1:3. Do you see that here? 1:3. Right. So which one is IOPS configurable? GP3 is IOPS configurable, IO1 is IOPS configurable, IO2 is IOPS configurable, and GP2 by default it has 1:3. So GP3 is faster. In GP2, GP3 compared to GP2, GP3, GP3 is faster. Compared to IO1 and IO2, IO2 is faster. So guys, if at all you need more power, then go for IO1, IO2 and all SSD volumes, right? Otherwise, keep it GP2 only. If you terminate the EC2 instance, the root volume will be deleted automatically. Okay. If you terminate the EC2 instance, the root volume is deleted automatically. Why? Because yeah, do you see that here? Delete on termination is checked. This is the checkbox. So anytime you can uncheck it. If you uncheck it, what is that? If you uncheck it, what happens? If you terminate the EC2 instance, the root volume will not be deleted. But by default, it will be deleted because it is checked. Guys, by default, the volumes are encrypted or not encrypted? Not encrypted. All the keys, all the encryption keys are stored in which service? KMS. Very good, Sinu. Gaurav. Do you see that? So every service, right? Yeah, every service has a, see, KMS, you will get the keys. By default, you have the keys here. If at all you want to encrypt it, it's just a matter of selecting this. That's all. And your volume will be encrypted. But remember, by default, the volumes are not encrypted unless you go into it. This is the root volume, and anytime you can go and add a new volume here. Add new volume. The new volumes is your EBS volume. And you see that apart from SDA1, you can go with /dev/SDB, CD, whatever it is. And you can have how much size ever you want. You can have it. And do you remember what is the volume types that root additional volume supports? All, right? Do you see that? GP2, GP3, IO1, IO2, SC1, ST1 standard, all it supports. And if you terminate the EC2 instance, your additional volume will be deleted. No. Why? Delete on termination is unchecked, and it is not encrypted. So guys, it is an easy way to go and add the additional volume here, but let's do the difficult way. Let's not go and add it here, and let's see the difficult way to do it. But do you understand step 4? Is it clear, step 4, everyone? So all in all, you don't need to do anything here. Just keep it like that. But did we learn each and every topic here, everyone? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now, next is tags. What are tags? Tags are key value pair. What is that? Tags are key value pair. So you need to give the name for that machine, right? Your instance. So add tag. How many tags you can have it? Here it should be capital N name. Name, I call it as, is this what server? Linux, right? Okay. My first EC2 instance. Give the name. And this tags will be applied for your instances, for your volumes, for your network interface, so that you can easily go and identify which volume is for is attached to which EC2 instance. And you can have multiple tags you can create if you want. Just a name. Make sure it should have a capital letter. If you put a small letter, you will not get it. It should make sure you should have a capital letter there. It is case sensitive. You see that tags are case sensitive. Is it clear? Step 5. Next is configure security group. Okay. Guys, remember, do we remember that do we have a default security group already by AWS? Yeah, we have a default security group already. But I don't recommend to go and create a new security group. Always use existing security group. What is the existing security group that we have already? Default security group. So if you ask me, sir, why we should do that? Let's say, for example, you have launched these EC2 instances. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Whenever you are launching it, I'm telling you to use default security group. And if you use 3 EC2 instance also, use default security group. This security group is for all the EC2 instance. So if you do inbound rules on this one security group, this will be applied for all your EC2 instances, because these EC2 instances are attached to the default security group. Let's say, for example, you have created multiple EC2 instances. While creating an EC2 instances, you are creating its own security group. You're creating own security. Is it good to create a new security group whenever you're launching a new machines? So it will keep on ending. It's endless. Like, you'll be creating so many security groups. Let's say, for example, here, you are logging into this machine. If you're logging into this machine, in which security group you need to attach? This security group, we need to enable inbound rules, right? Yes or no? Maybe SSH 22. And most of the people, what they're doing is, as they have multiple security groups, they'll go and confuse, and they will be adding inbound rules to this security group. And they are trying to access to this EC2 instance. Will it work? Definitely no. That's the reason why, as we are in budding stage, as we are in now learning, so don't go for multiple security groups concept. Maybe once we are good in, and maybe later we can do it. But now at the moment, always choose default security group. So how many EC2 instances that you have launched doesn't matter. If you go and do an inbound rules on your default security group, it will be applicable for all EC2 instances. Is that clear? So will you go for create new security group or select default security group? Yes, default security group. I mean existing security group. So here we have security group, select it. I'll talk about this later. Now, next is review. We don't have habit of reviewing. It's okay. Now click on go and launch. Guys, here, whenever you're launching, I told you that we need to have a key pair, right? We need to have a key pair. So as you are new to AWS, you don't have any key pair. I already have one key pair here. So here, what you need to do is you need to create a new key pair. Guys, will you keep on creating a new key pair, or will you create only one and reuse it? Only one and reuse it. So keep this in mind. Don't create every time new key pair. Create one key pair and reuse it. So now this time I'm calling as 6:30 p.m. batch. Key pair name. I'm just giving any key pair name. So go and download this, guys. Download it. So this is a PEM file where you have to be very careful, and you go and put it somewhere in nice place. I paste it here. Okay. So now I have my this keeper ready, and should I go and launch instances here? Boom. Click on view instances here, and then congratulations that you have your new first EC2 instance launched. What is that? What is PEM? You're asking what is PEM, Prashad? PEM. It's not PEM file. It's PEM file. Yeah. How could you forget that PEM file? Did you miss the class? Then that PEM file itself, we took the entire class, isn't it, guys? That's a big, yeah. So for now, you can think that PEM file is used to retrieve the password of your EC2 instance, right? I'll show you how to do that. So guys, so now we have launched an EC2 instance. So it is Linux wala, right? So should we go and launch a Windows machine also quickly? Let's do that. Launch instance. And then if you want to launch Windows, see here it is should be free tier eligible, and then it should be like this, Windows Server 2019. So same procedure. T2 micro, right? So here, this time I'll put it in 1B. I'll enable it, public IP. I'll keep everything default. If you want product termination, it's selected, and keep everything default. Next. Don't change anything, keep it default. Next. Add tag, capital N name. I call it as Windows Server. Click on next. Would you go for new or existing? Existing, default, review it, launch. Do you see that we have already, now we have created already one, right? So don't create new one. So use the existing one. And you acknowledge that you have the PEM file with you. And then boom, launch. And you have your Windows Server also cooking up. Do you understand how to launch an EC2 instance? So now it will take only 3 or 4 seconds to go and launch an EC2 instance. So we spend the entire couple of days on this. Do you see that here, guys? Pending. Do you remember from pending? Do you remember the instance states? From pending, it went to running. From pending, it went to running. If you stop, stopping to stopped. And if you terminate, shutting down to terminated, right? And you just keep an eye here that you have 2/2 checks pass here, and then you have initializing here. I'll talk about that soon. Okay. Now instance state is running. Running meaning now it is billing started in actual environment, not for you, right? It is working, and then also whenever it is running, your billing is tick tick tick. It's ticking. Okay. Now, guys, how do you get the instance details? Did I told you that? How do you get the instance metadata from console? Using description section. Do you see that in the bottom you have description, status check, monitoring, tags? Sorry. So we have here description. We have here description, guys. Description, do you see that? Instance ID, state, all the details about the EC2 instance, you will get it in description section. So mostly why we go for description is to grab the IP address. Do you see that here? We have the public IP address here. We have the public IP address here, and we have the private IP address here. See, this is private IP and this is public IP. So if you want to connect to this machine, will you go for public IP or private IP to connect from your laptop? Public IP. Can you connect to this private IP? Remember, we have seen different types of IPs now. Nice. Okay, now question for you here is, guys, see what is the security group that we have attached for this? Default security group. And what is the AMI that we have used? RHEL. What is the subnet? Yes, this. And then what is the root volume? /dev/sd1. All the details you have it here in the description section. Okay, now question for you here is, and yeah, which availability? Can you tell me, I have assigned this public IP. If I stop and start the EC2 instance, this IP will change or not? Yes, it will change. Do you see that you can connect to this EC2 instance using public IP, or you can also connect to this EC2 instance using public DNS also? Do you see the DNS? You have the 65.0.76.250, 65.0.76.250. So in the DNS, you have the IP address also here. Now question for you here is, guys, if I stop and start the EC2 instance, the public IP address changes. The public DNS also will change. That is a certification question. So guys, so if you get the new IP, this new IP get replaced over here. So if your public IP changes, public DNS will also change. Write it down somewhere. If the public IP changes, public DNS also will change. Clear? Okay, nice. And same to here. If the private IP changes, most of the time private IPs will not change, and you have the private DNS here. Okay. Are you interested to see what is this elastic IP? Right? So now our topic here is, okay, before going to the elastic IP concept, of course, I'll show you how to connect to these machines, right? I'll show how to connect to the machines. Before that, let us talk about here status checks. Guys, this, yeah, it is changed. So status check, previously it was initializing. So there are two types of status checks. What are those? System status check, instance status check. There are two types of status checks. What are those? System and instance. System meaning it will check all your hardware. The instance has launched properly or not. And instance status check, it will check the software side and network configuration. What your IP got assigned or not, everything is properly or not, the EC2 instance and all. So definitely 2/2 check should be passed. Guys, if the machine is not launched properly, whether will you able to log into the machine? No. If you don't have any proper network configuration for this machine, will you able to log into this machine? No. So mandatorily, these two checks should be passed. Then only your machine is healthy. Sometimes there will be a chance that where you will have only 1/2 or sometimes 0/2. That meaning the EC2 instance might have not launched properly, or the backend host machine is not good. So what you do in order to have this healthy? Yeah, yes, stop and start the EC2 instance, not restart. If you restart, it will be on the same machine. If you stop and start, it will jump from one host to another host, and you will get this 2/2 check passed. Please write this down also. If you see 1/2 status check, please stop and start. This will get resolved automatically. Clear? Is this clear on status check? Just a second. I'll reply to him and I'll come back. Nice. Okay. So, and now this is about the statistics here. And then here we have monitoring. Do you remember that? What is the service which will be monitoring your EC2 instances? CloudWatch. So do you see this CloudWatch here? So you can see the CPU utilization, right? And then we'll talk detail on this cloud when we go to the CloudWatch section, but not now, right? But you can see all kind of monitorings here. And then tags that we have given here. Do you understand description, statistic, monitoring, and tags? Everyone? Yes. Yes, yes. Okay, now, should we go and do the small test on whether if I stop and start the EC2 instance, the IP address will change or not? Should we do that? Yeah. So let's do that. So I'll put this IP address in the chat. So it is 102 and 117. So now I stop EC2 instance. Right click, instance state, stop. What is ephemeral storage meaning? Anyone? Ephemeral storage. Okay. So ephemeral now. So I might have not put this in your in your brains. Maybe. Yeah. Ephemeral storage is do you remember that we discussed about instance store volume? Instance store volume. The another name of instance store volume is ephemeral storage. Right? So okay, now can you tell me if you stop and start the machine, the data will be lost or not in the ephemeral storage? Yes, that's why it is saying that note when your instance are stopped, any data on the ephemeral storage of instance will be lost, not your root volume. Okay, guys. Now I'm stopping it. So what is the status if you stop? Stopping. You have a refresh option here. So let's wait. Okay. Do you see that? Now it is stopped. So the IP address is gone. So let me go and start it again. Pending. And after a few seconds, it will be running. Whenever it comes to the running mode, the IPs will get assigned. Okay. Do you see that IP is changed? Yes. IP is changed, right? Yes, the IP is changed. If this public IP address changes, right, your private IP, your public DNS will also get changed. This is the demo on the public IP. So now, should we go and assign the static IP? So how do you assign the static IP? Using elastic IPs, right? It's very simple. So on the left side, you have elastic IP. Do you see elastic IP? Go there. How many elastic IPs are free? 5, right? So click on allocate and then allocate. Close. This IP has been allocated now. So now this IP is ideal. So you should not keep it like this. It will be charged. So what we need to do? We need to go and associate. To whom we need to associate? Our Windows. What IP is there for this Windows server? This one. And now, guys, remember this IP address will be replaced with the elastic IP that we have created. See. Now I'll go and associate. Which one? Windows Server, associate. And I'll go to the instances, Windows Server. So do you see that? The one which I have pasted in the chat and this? So you cannot have both public IP and elastic IP. No, you can have either one. You can have either public IP or you can have either elastic IP. You cannot have both at the same time with a different IP address. Make sense? Do you understand this? So guys, so do you understand? If I stop this machine and start, if I stop this and start, what will happen? This IP will change? Definitely it will not change. I don't want to stop, so let's not waste time there. Right? You understand? So now what I'll go is here, I'll go and remove, detach. I'll go in disassociate it. So guys, see, I'm going and disassociating. That meaning I'm detaching it from that machine and I'm releasing to AWS. That meaning I'm deleting. It's gone. So now you have your another public IP back here. It's gone. A newer public IP is assigned. Understood? Do you understand how to assign elastic IP and then remove it and then release it to AWS? Everyone? Super. Super. Nice. Okay. So now, should we go and try to log into this machine? How do we log into this machine? Yes. Yeah, if not released, chargeable. Definitely it is chargeable. Okay, guys. So before logging into this machine, first we need to check what? Security groups, na? Whether the proper protocols are enabled or not. So let's go to security group and we have a default security group. Remember in for security group, what type of rules do you have? Inbound rules and outbound rules, right? So by default, inbound rules are allowed or deny? Inbound rules are deny. So I have been working on this. Let me go and delete unnecessary things here so that I can show you. Okay. So guys, so this will be like this for you. Inbound rules, right? And outbound rules. Inbound rules, outbound rules for security group. Go. Okay. So now I have my EC2 instance here. This is my EC2 instance. And this is my Windows EC2 instance. Can you tell me by default inbound rules are deny, right? By default inbound rules are deny. So meaning here, see, no protocol is allowed from outside. You see that there is only one rule with all traffic, all, and then this self security group ID here. Default security group source. So guys, here I'm telling you, do not change, modify, or delete this default rule. It's a very bad habit. Don't delete your default rule. Let it be like this only. Why? Because, guys, for I told you this example already. If you have constructed your own home, nice home, you should be entering inside the home, first of all, with your own keys, and then shut down everything. You should be able to have access by yourself, right? And that's the reason, guys. So it should have self access everything by itself. It is not allowing from outside. It is by self. Is there any harm if you have your own house keys with you? No, the same way. So the same way here, right? So don't delete it, don't modify it, don't do anything for this default. If you lose your keys, you will not be able to access within yourself. So here, guys, so what is the protocol I should enable here in order to connect to this my Windows machine? What is the inbound rule? Remember, what is the protocol which is used? RDP. You know how to do that? Here, see, edit, add rule. What rule? RDP. Do you see this here? These are all the protocols that AWS is giving you ready-madely. So you select RDP here, and all your protocols works on TCP. Remember, TCP is like a bridge. Your HTTP, UDP, whatever you take, it is through the TCP only. What is the port number for RDP? 3389. See, it is 339. Guys, how many source types are there in security groups? 3. What are those? custom, anywhere, and my IP. Remember this? Custom, anywhere, my IP. Which one you will be using it? Custom, anywhere, my IP. We have three. Which one we should be using it? My IP. So if you use custom, you should be giving some range of IP address. Guys, from where you need to access this machine, you are sitting here on your laptop. From this laptop, you need to allow this laptop is your source, right? I hate this writing with this mouse. Yeah, but yeah. So if you select my IP, automatically your laptop public IPs will be loaded automatically. This is my laptop's IP. This is my laptop's public IP. Right? This is my laptop public IP. If I go here and type check my IP, do you see that? This is the public IP which is allocated by my ISP provider. Act, Airtel, Jio, whatever it is. This is the IP, public IP. Is it possible to connect? Is it possible to connect to your laptop using your private IPs? Is it possible to connect to your laptops? Anyone can connect to your laptops using private IPs? Yes or no? Definitely no. So they will be connecting using this public IP. Your laptop will be talking to the internet using public IP. So AWS is on internet, and how your laptop will be connected to the internet to the AWS using this IP. Can you tell me whatever the IP which ISP provider is giving to me, is it static or dynamic to me? Dynamic. It is dynamic. So remember, if you are not able to connect to the machine, what is the culprit? Who is the culprit? If you're not able to connect to the machine's EC2 instances, what is the thing that you need to check? First, security groups. In security group, check that your IP might have changed. Just select again, this will be loaded again. So guys, this is the common sutra. Like, if you're not able to connect to the machine, what is the first thing that you need to check? Everyone? Security groups, whether the protocol is enabled or not. And if the protocol is enabled, check your source here. So is it clear? What did we added here? RDP and MyIP we have selected also. Guys, everyone, clear? Nice. And click on save. So if we give custom and give our IP will not affect, right? No. This will be mostly used for the custom purpose. Yeah, it will not affect. It will not affect. So click on save. So guys, have we done any changes on this my default rule? Remember, this will come back to your custom. That is fine. This is a natural behavior. If you select my IP, this will come back to custom. That is fine, right? But don't change your all traffic to my IP here. No, right? Let it be like this, and you added your rule, whatever you want. So you added RDP rule. Is it? Do you need to do that the same thing on outbound rules? No, no, because security groups are stateful or less. Stateful, and by default, outbound rules are allowed. When we do RDP traffic, is it enabled for single user from outside or what? For every user, it is not user specific. It is traffic port specific. So if you allow this RDP from this specific IP, then only one user. If you want to do it for everyone, then in this case, select anywhere. If you take anywhere, 0000/0 is everyone. Do you understand, guys, what we did here on security groups? Everyone, very important. Okay, now security groups are fine. Should we go and quickly go and log into our machines? Yes. So select this Windows Server here, and then open your remote desktop protocol, remote desktop connection here. remote desktop connection here. All right. And this will be like this remote desktop connection, guys. And then put your IP address here. What is the IP address that you need to put? Public IP or private IP? So where do you find the public IPs? Go select that, go to description, and here you have public IP. Put it here. What is the default username for Windows? Administrator. So click on connect, and here administrator. And how to retrieve the password? Right click, get Windows password. What is that? Get Windows password. And see, if you click on right click on get Windows password, it is asking for your key pair. Choose, right? And then we have created 6:30 p.m. PEM file, right? Select. That PEM file is a nothing but it's a private key what you have it. And then click on decrypt. Do you see that big Bluetooth password here? Yoga style password. So this is your instance password. I'll do it again. See how to retrieve the password. Right click, get Windows password. Choose your PEM file, decrypt it. You'll get it. And then put that password here and then connect. Click on yes. Congratulations. Now we are in our Windows EC2 instance. And this is your normal server. You can access as a normal. This is your C drive, your root volume. Do you understand how to connect to the machine now? Windows machine? Everyone? CC, clear? Super. Should we go ahead and then try to connect to Linux machine? Okay. So for this, what we need to do is, do you remember that? How do you connect to your machines? Using PuTTY. So guys, go and download two things, PuTTY and PuTTYGen. What is that? PuTTY and PuTTYGen. So this is a PuTTY that I have downloaded. I have it already here. And you can download it easily from your internet. So now, so I need to open PuTTYGen, right? So I need to open this PuTTYGen. So guys, PuTTY is different and PuTTYGen is different. So if you install PuTTY, PuTTYGen will come automatically, I think, right? So open the PuTTYGen. Guys, this PuTTY doesn't support PEM file. This PuTTY on the left side, which we gonna connect to this machine, doesn't support PEM file. What is the file that PuTTY supports? PPK file, na? See guys, how do I generate the PPK file? It's simple. See here, open PuTTYGen and click on load. Click on load. And here, go to your PEM file. Select that PEM file. Okay, it shows all PPK files, right? Here, select all files, and it show all your 6:30 p.m. PEM file. Open it. Click on OK. That's all. What we did, guys. Load and select your PEM file. That's all I did. And I'm saving private key. Save private key, not public key. Save private key. Click on yes. And then here, I'm writing 6:30 p.m. batch.ppk. And then save. That's all. It's only one-time generation. Do you understand how to convert PEM to PPK? Everyone, open PuttyGen, click on load your PEM file, and save private key and .ppk. Everyone, nice. So now, let's go and connect. So it is asking to put the IP address. How to get the Linux IP address? Go there and grab the public IP and put it over here. On the left side, here we have SSH. Expand that SSH, click on auth. Here you need to give your PPK file, the one which we have just created, PPK. That's all you need to do. What we did here again, I'm telling you, see, put your IP address here and expand SSH, select auth, and then select your PPK file in the browser here. And I'm just increasing the font here. Okay, guys, open. Ooh, it is not connecting. So what is the problem? If it is not connecting, can someone tell me what's the problem here? In inbound, in security group, what we need to allow? Yes, SSH we need to allow it. So it's connection timeout. Guys, if at all you get connection timeout, that meaning, guys, you have not enabled the protocol. So in security groups, inbound roles, edit it, add role. What role we need to add? SSH 22 and my IP. Save. Let's go again. Open putty. Get your IP here. Put it here. Open SSH auth and then select our PEM file. I'm just increasing the font. And then open. Boom. Click on S. And what is the username? What is the default username for your Linux machines? EC2 minus user. And congratulations, you are on Linux machine. And from here, you can use all kind of your Linux command. You can practice your Linux commands here. Just a second, guys. Okay, so guys, I got some urgent call that cannot be avoided. Yes, Nagbhushan, you're right. Until I'll say CC, I will not be going from here. So guys, do you understand how to log into, how to launch Windows and Linux machine and how to connect to it? Everyone, any questions? Everyone, do you understand? So, so the thing is here, just hold on. Okay. So these are the things that you need to do the task from today. So the task here is, guys, so now tell me here, can you launch Windows machines and then try to create a key pair and try to add and try to connect to that? This can be doable, everyone? Yes. And second thing is launch your Red Hat EC2 instance and try to connect it. How to do? Download putty generator, convert this PEM to PPK, and how to log in. I just put everything here and try to connect it. Can you do this? Try to stop and start the EC2 instance and public IP will changes or not? Yep. And assign EIP to the machines and try to stop and start. EIP will not change. Yes. And disassociate EIP from instance and release it to AWS. So guys, these are all the tasks that I have kept ready for you. And finally, how to terminate the EC2 instance. That is very important here. See, how to terminate it, guys. So right click, instance state, and then terminate. Right click, instance state, and terminate. Guys, if you click on terminate, do you see this? This option is disabled now. Why? Do you remember that we have enabled delete termination protection? Right? Yes. So here, yeah. So click on cancel. What you have to do is here, go to instance settings. Here we have changed termination protection. Change termination protection. Click on that and you have to disable this first and then go and right click and terminate. It is terminate. So if you terminate, what is the instance state here? Shutting down and then terminate it. Let's do the same thing here. Let's go to instance settings, change termination protection, disable it, and then go and terminate it. So guys, so please do the task on what we have given. Don't go here and there, and try to do all kind of shit. I will slowly take you everything, but yeah. So I'm just putting those two in the chat here, and then 6. Guys, I have put, yes, you should not delete. Funny, do you remember that we need to disassociate it? So guys, once see now here, everything is terminated, right? So go to the dashboard. The final step is go to the dashboard. Everything should be 0 except your security groups and key pair. EIPs are 0. You need to disassociate and release it. Right? So once you've done everything, come to the dashboard and see everything is 0 except security group and key pair. Key pairs don't delete it. Just keep it like this. It will not be charged. Are you clear on the tasks, everyone? Excellent. So that would be your task there. So guys, I'm telling you again and again. So don't stack up the task from here. I'll be giving the task every day, right? So please finish the task. This doesn't take even half an hour of your time. And then once you do this task, don't stack it till Friday, till Saturday and Sunday. Okay, don't stack it. Okay, and then by the time you come tomorrow to my class, the task should be finished. And then make use your WhatsApp group. If you face anything really urgent, some issues, please put that in that group. Someone will be replying, or you can mail me, or you can ask me tomorrow here. But please keep your minds there and then try to, if at all you get some issues, try to troubleshoot it. Don't ask anyone, right? Try to troubleshoot it. What's the problem? And then if you're not able to do it, finally, just ask me. Excellent. So guys, so can you give me final CC for today? Excellent. So guys, that is all for today, and I'll see you tomorrow with the next topic lab here. Until then, take care. Bye bye. Have a nice day and good night.